You can only imagine the atmosphere at the White House right now is beyond tense. Yet another bombshell was dropped on the Trump presidency Wednesday when the New York Times published an op-ed from a member of Trump's senior administration. The anonymous official claims to be part of a, quote, resistance, who is working from within to thwart President Donald Trump's worst inclinations. The person says that they want the administration to succeed. However, they feel the president is acting in a manner that is detrimental to the country. The writer goes on to say, it may be cold comfort in this chaotic era, but Americans should know that there are adults in the room. We fully recognize what is happening, and we are trying to do what's right, even when Donald Trump won't. Not surprisingly, the president was quick to react to the opinion piece. Here's what he had to say at a White House gathering of U.S. sheriffs.
We have somebody in what I call the failing New York Times that's talking about he's part of the resistance within the Trump administration. This is what we have to deal with. And, you know, the dishonest media, because you people deal with it as well as I do. But it's really a disgrace. When you tell me about some anonymous source within the administration, probably who's failing and probably here for all the wrong reasons, no. And the New York Times is failing. If I weren't here, I believe the New York Times probably wouldn't even exist.
With more, I want to bring in Christine Emba. She's an opinion writer at the Washington Post, and she joins me this morning from Washington. Christine, good morning to you. Will President Trump, or really Washington, be able to rest until the author of this letter is outed?
That's a great question, but frankly, I don't think that Washington has rested since President Trump was elected. That said, this has caused quite a bit of consternation and wondering, both from media establishment figures who are trying to figure out who the author is, and obviously, as you just heard, the president himself.
All right, I want to read one line that stood out and is making headlines in its own right. The piece says, given the instability many witnessed, there were early whispers within the cabinet of invoking the 25th Amendment, which would start a complex process for removing the president. But no one wanted to precipitate a constitutional crisis. So we will do what we can to steer the administration in the right direction until one way or another it is over. So analysts, Christine, are calling this everything from a soft coup to the beginning of the end of Trump's presidency. How damaging is this?
I would say that it's quite damning. It's quite a damning indictment of the presidency, of Trump himself, especially coming on the heels of the excerpts from Bob Woodward's new book, Fear. That said, I think that this letter has actually received a less warm reception than perhaps its author intended. The fact that apparently much of the administration thinks that Trump is in need of perhaps removal from office, that he's not fit to serve, and yet this group of people, this administration, are still keeping him in office and don't seem perhaps brave enough to come out and say this in public with their names attached, is not reflecting well on them or this administration.
Okay, and to further that point, could this all backfire and further isolate this president so he acts out, does something impetuously, perhaps even dangerous?
That is actually the fear right now. One of my and many of my colleagues' first responses to this letter was, well, if you're conducting a secret resistance operation within the administration, why would you write about it in the New York Times? It's supposed to be a secret. But the president already feels embittered. He thinks that he's surrounded by people who don't support him. He's always been suspicious. There have long been rumors of a sort of deep state working to take him down, and this certainly adds fuel to the fire. He's definitely in a more defensive posture, and now feels like there is no one in the White House or his administration to rely on, so he will start going it alone.
So what do you think? Is this a secret Washington can keep? Will this person remain anonymous?
It is hard to say. Obviously, just due to speculation, I think reporters all over the country are speculating as to who this person might be. There are a lot of rumors going around. Washington is famous for its leaking. So I think that we may find out the identity of this person sooner rather than later. That said, it also seems like this might be written by someone who, if not on the way out, once their identity is revealed, certainly will be.
All right. And there's a lot of speculation, as you point out, about who it could be. Let's take a look at some of the names people are talking about. Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, although just a short time ago he denied that he wrote the letter. He said that this morning. Kellyanne Conway, John Kelly, who's also denied it, Kirstjen Nielsen, Jeff Sessions, James Mattis, Dan Coates, Nikki Haley. Christine, you want to weigh in before we say goodbye to you?
All likely candidates. In my neck of the woods, we've noticed that the word lodestar, which is somewhat unusual, is used in this letter, and that is something that Mike Pence has used. But the letter also talks quite a bit about foreign policy and security issues. So one could also speculate that somebody in the foreign policy establishment or wing of the administration might have written it. It's really hard to say at this point, but I'm sure we'll learn more.
Or someone could have used Lone Star to throw people off their trail, knowing that Mike Pence does use it a lot. So the palace intrigue continues. Christine Emba, thank you so much. Take care.